We're taking a summer sabbatical while we wait for the arrival of Armondi's bundle of joy. Join us this fall as Armondi the Millennial becomes Armondi the Dad. In the meantime, we revisit some of our favorite interviews. At the start of the Ukraine-Russia war, our upstairs neighbor, whose family is from Ukraine, shared insights into how her family and their country were coping. We never imagined the war 3 years later. As we stated at the beginning of the show, we do have a very special guest. She's a friend of ours, and just in casual conversation, we found out that she actually has family in Ukraine. She has Russian background, or
her family's Russian.
Her family's Russian,
but they live in the Ukraine.
Well, she has, she
spent time in the Ukraine.
Yeah, she has family in Ukraine. Her grandmother's in the Ukraine, and she spent summers over in Ukraine with her grandmother, and they're in constant contact with her cousins and her grandmother. And I just thought that it would be great to have her come on and just give us a perspective from someone living it day in and day out as to how things are with her people. So we're gonna bring her on, and
interestingly enough, she's also our neighbor.
Our neighbor.
Yeah.
So
everybody, welcome Laura, our neighbor,
to the podcast. Okay. Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're on Boomer and the Millennial.
He's Reggie the Boomer.
Yeah.
I'm Armondi the Millennial.
Yeah, I guess
obviously, but
I'm a cusper. I'm 97, so I can go either way.
Oh, really?
It depends on.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends on who's in trouble. Millennials in trouble, then I'll say I'm Gen Z. Vice versa.
That's hilarious. Okay. Oh, wow. I don't know why I thought you were older than.
It's my maturity, I guess.
Yeah, that's, I see. Okay. Absolutely.
Right.
We'll limit that.
Thank you for coming on. And, unfortunately, because of the situation, we thank you for sharing with us. I think, Anita told me about your family and your connection with Ukraine. And we thought if you would be willing to come on and, just give us kind of your perspective. And I guess the first thing we want to know is how's everybody doing? Because you have family over there. How are they doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone is fine. I checked in with both my grandmother and my cousins earlier this morning, and they're doing fine. They are about 50 miles south of Kiev, in this town called Biela Tserkva, which means white church. And things have really started to calm down in their neighborhood, which is giving all of us a lot of peace of mind. The sirens go off pretty much daily, but people aren't as scared in their neighborhood. So that's good.
How do you normally get in contact with them? Like, what's the easiest way to do that?
So with my older relatives, Viber, which is kind of like WhatsApp, and then my younger cousins, we just DM each other on Instagram.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's usually the easiest ways.
So I'm glad to hear everybody's doing well and things are kind of calmed down. And we'll get into that a little more. But I was interested in really learning about your family history there in Ukraine.
My family is actually Russian. And when I was talking to my grandmother this morning, she was very concerned about getting in trouble she thought I was being interviewed on television. And giving all these, giving our information out. I was like, don't worry, it's a podcast. Because the longer this goes on, the more animosity there is. And, she's nervous about speaking Russian when she goes out.
Right.
And my family has been in Ukraine since the 70s. So my grandmother and grandfather were living in the Ural Mountains, and were there after they studied. After they got their master's degrees, they stayed there. And my mother and them lived there for the first 4 years of her life. And then they moved to Ukraine and have been there ever since. My mom moved here in the 90s, but the rest of our family has stayed there. And I've never even been to Russia. So Ukraine is more home than anything. My aunt was born there. She also has only been to Russia a couple of times. So that's, that's the interesting part of what's going on here is, the Russians living in Ukraine for the most part are there on purpose because they love Ukraine. And, and they, when my family was moved to Ukraine, it was all Soviet Union anyways. So,
right.
There wasn't as much of a separation. But yeah, so they've been there since about the 70s. It's interesting. I was talking to my grandma. She's so blasé about things now. And I'm thinking, I would be freaking out. But she lived through 2 nuclear disasters. And I think, because she lived in Ural Mountains with that, I was at Kishim, I think, and her family members died from radiation poisoning from that. And then, wow. And they lived, I think, less than 100 miles from Chernobyl when that happened. And my mom and aunt evacuated, but they stayed there. And my grandfather died from the radiation poisoning. But, after you live through, Stalin, 2 nuclear disasters, war is just another inconvenience to her life. Yeah. She's worried about her cats most of the time. That's her biggest thing. Because we were trying to get her out before, things got really serious, before the war actually started. And because she comes here during the summers. And she said, nope, gotta stay here for my cats. I'll come in May, how I normally come. And that's obviously getting a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, wow, that's a lot to just digest, I think. But do you have any really, really good memories, or I guess fond memories from the times that you were over there, with your family? Could you talk a little bit about some of the, I guess some of your favorite
part? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went there every summer. I always leave right when school was over. So May-ish until right before school started in August, which was kind of nice for my parents. They got a 3-month vacation from having a child every year. But I did that and I loved it. I mean, my grandparents live in this big, Soviet apartment, and it's all kind of older people. So all the grandkids come during the summer, and we're all just, running around barefoot, climbing trees, doing the normal kid stuff. And it's just such a beautiful country. And, there's a park in her town that is one of a famous park that is just gorgeous. It's on a river. And so that was always really fun. When we went down there, me and my friends we always had some hustle. We were working. And, we'd put on these little plays and skits and charge, a couple of grivna, which is their money, for the tickets. And we'd make flower bouquets with wildflowers and go door to door selling them for, movie ticket money. Another one of my favorite things was we'd take an overnight train down to this place called Yalta, which is on the Black Sea. And that is, that was our, probably a week or so every summer we'd go do that. And it's, it's gorgeous, a gorgeous place. And we always had the most fun there. And it's so crazy to think about what it looks like now. I mean, because that is, that's part of the annexed space. And, that's not a place we can go anymore. And, even before this started, after 2014, I think my family would need a visa to go there. And, it just makes it a lot more complicated. And so I'm hoping, years from now when things get better, I'll be able to go to the beach again. Because that was that was the most fun.
Yeah. Did you, it seems such a resilient people and this love of country. From talking to your family, did they really, feel like this would happen, that Russia would actually do? because I've been hearing a lot of folk, and commentators and foreign relations people that said that they didn't even think that he would do this.
Yeah, no, it was, even in the days leading up to it, I texted my youngest cousin asking, are you okay? Are you scared? And she goes, yeah, I'm really stressed about exam. And she just went off and started talking about school. And she's like, yeah, I have to pick a university. And, I'm like, okay, Vika, that's obviously not what I'm asking about. I'm asking about the pending
potential
doom,
war.
Invasion. And she goes, oh, no, I'm sure it's fine. And she's 17, but she goes, I'm not sure if I'm mature enough to understand the seriousness of it all. I said, well, that's mature in itself. Acknowledging that you don't understand the situation, because there's plenty of adults who think that they know everything and won't admit to that.
Yeah, well,
But I mean, my grandmother she's like, it was a surprise to everybody. They had no idea that it was actually going to get to this.
I've been real impressed with the president, Zelensky. I actually got to see, I think on Netflix, have Servant of the People, and I saw him. I saw the first episode. Wow, that is just so surreal. And I think about Reagan. He was a movie star. He became president. But it seems like people are behind him.
Yeah. I remember when he first got elected, my grandmother was very concerned about his seriousness. And she goes, well, I don't know about this jokester. I don't know. Can he handle this? But I mean, he's definitely proven himself to be an incredible leader. And he's there. He will not leave. He's there. He's wearing his little, green outfits, tennis shoes. And it's interesting. He also is a native Russian speaker.
Oh, wow.
And so, I keep coming back to that, where the line is so blurred between Russians and Ukrainians, regular people, because, he grew up speaking Russian, and, so did my family, but now the younger ones are only speaking Ukrainian for the most part. But I mean, I think everyone's pretty thrilled with him. It's, I can't imagine a lot of the politicians over here having the courage to act the way he's been acting.
Yeah. I think we can learn a lot from Zelensky and the people of Ukraine, just about what really coming together for your country means. I think we have lost a lot of that because we've become so polarized. So now you said you spoke today, and everybody's safe. Anything else that's happening, kind of real time on the ground? I mean, because your family stays close to Kyiv, so things there have kind of settled down. Are they worried about possible incursion, I think, from the east? Or
what they're thinking is that it's all moving towards the east, which, in their mind, it's just going to get better for at least, that part of Ukraine. And, that's, of course, they don't want, all this trouble in the east either. But I'm definitely grateful that it's at least moving away from them. We've been talking about getting my grandmother out, because, she usually comes here in the summers, but it's, organizing it has been so difficult, because we have some friends in Slovakia that she might be able to meet with somehow. But it's, she's older. She can't really be in the car for that long, let alone it's because, I mean, it's a very big country. And so getting to the border is not like a quick and easy thing. And not take aside take out the dangerous part of it. It's, she has her little varicose veins. She can't sit in the car. So it's getting complicated. But I'm hoping we can get her over here. I miss her.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll definitely, guys, in prayer. And what do you feel the best way people how can we help? I mean, how can people listen now?
Yeah. So, obviously vetting charities and, making sure you're researching well before you give money to organizations is really important. And, donating directly to the Armed Forces of Ukraine, I think is a good idea as well. My cousin works for the city council in her neighborhood. And so, if people donate and direct it towards her and their city council, then, she can come back and even say, okay, you got this money, bought a transportation van and, bulletproof vests and things like that. And I think that's a really cool thing to be able to know exactly what your money is going to. And also, just celebrating the culture. So my family plays Russian, Ukrainian music, and pretty much any Slavic country music. And so we did a performance a couple weeks ago because, the average person doesn't know what that's going to sound like. But, I've grown up with it, and, being able to celebrate the culture and share the beauty of the music and our cute little outfits. I think that in itself was good because you can't, it's harder to help and relate to a people that you know nothing about.
Right.
And, this is learning about the depth of the cultural history, I think, is in itself, especially if you don't really have the money to donate, then learning and being able to, speak. If you look at Ukraine's Twitter account, half of it is them just posting about, their artists and their athletes and historians and poets, because they're just trying to uplift their people and, make people aware how beautiful and rich of a country it is.
And I think it's good that they're, taking to social media because you think about millennials and people our age, like that's where majority of us find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. Like we may turn on the TV and watch things on CNN and the actual news, but initially we hear about things on Twitter. We hear about things on Instagram because people are reposting things and sharing stories. I mean, on TikTok, like all over social media. So it's good that, and I have seen evidence of, wanting to bring awareness to what's going on, as well as uplifting the culture. And because I'm sure a lot of people, the most they know about the Ukraine is we see them during the Olympics, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or we don't really know too much about the country and the people. So I love that it is, of course, it's happening because of an unfortunate sort of situation. But the fact that people are able to keep the culture alive and to share it and to spread it and gain support from people all around the world is incredible. So,
yeah, and seeing that global response has been very encouraging. Just seeing how much love and support there is, it means so much. And everyone's always sending their prayers, and it's unifying. It's a very unifying moment because it matters a lot less what side of the aisle you're on, or what country you're in, what your beliefs are, because this is just obviously a horrific thing. And I mean, there's always going to be extremists on one side or the other, but for the most part, people are all on the same page about how awful this is and it needing to come to an end.
Yeah. And to Armondi's point, it's unfortunate that it's an event like this. But it is, it's a world unifying event around the people of Ukraine. And I think about, the summer of, as they call it, unrest, but I think it's more of an awakening with George Floyd. I mean, that was happening all over the world.
Yep.
Another unfortunate event. And, we're going to, if you have any links or anything we can post on our website, we'd love to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I have some, little videos of us performing, and my cousin wrote this really, really beautiful poem that I would love to share as well. Some things get lost in translation, of course, but it's still very pretty.
Right. We love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura, for joining us. We're praying for your family.
Absolutely.
And the people of Ukraine each and every day. You can listen to this entire episode and other Boomer and Millennial episodes on your favorite podcast platform or on our website at boomerandthemillennial.com. Now, if you haven't already, remember to subscribe and share. I'm Reggie the Boomer, and we'll be back at it like, you know the rest, next month with a new episode and a new member of the Boomer and Millennial family. Until then, we're out. Peace.